طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We read tonight from Marjan, chapter number 3. Sheikh Muhammad Fawad Abdul Baqi rahimahullah says, quoting from Nawawi, Babun لا تقدموا رمضان بصوم يوم ولا يومين. Chapter 3 says not to observe Sawm for a day or two ahead of Ramadan. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال لا يتقدمن أحدكم رمضان بصوم يوم أو يومين إلا أن يكون رجل كان يصوم صومه فليصم ذلك اليوم. Hadith 657 is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ said, none of you should observe Sawm for a day or two ahead of Ramadan unless he has the habit of observing Sawm. Then he can observe Sawm that day. So another ruling of the month of Ramadan and of fasting is not to give the month of Ramadan an additional padding, any additional insulation off of precaution or any other reason. When the month of Ramadan approaches, do not add insulation or padding. Don't give yourself a day or two of extra and additional fasting unless it's something that you normally did, meaning a Monday, a Thursday, 3 days out of every month, etc. The fast of Dawood, the fast of each and every day, fasting because you can't get married, etc. And if that's not the case, then do not make any Ramadan observance out of any other reason 1 or 2 days before the month of Ramadan. That's what's meant by this chapter heading. And this chapter heading includes a ruling and an issue of the rulings and issues of fasting in the month of Ramadan. طيب. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, his hadith says, لا يتقدمن. لا يتقدمن. This noon here in the Arabic grammar, it shows us and improves us a stronger prohibition. لا يتقدمن. None of you should bring anything before Ramadan. Yawm or yawmain, except for the one who used to do it, etc. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says here, فيه التصريح بالنهي عن استقبال رمضان بصوم يوم ويومين لمن لم يصادف عادة له أو يصله بما قبله فإن لم يصله ولا صادف عادة فهو حرام. هذا هو الصحيح في مذهبنا لهذا الحديث. وللحديث الآخر في سنن أبي داود وغيره إذا انتصف شعبان فلا صيام حتى يكون رمضان فإن وصله بما قبله أو صادف عادة له فإن كانت عادته صوم يوم الاثنين ونحوه فصادفه فصامه تطوعا بنية ذلك جاز لهذا الحديث سواء في النهي عندنا لمن لم يصادف عادته ولا وصله يوم الشك وغيره فيوم الشك داخل في النهي وفيه مذاهب للسلف في من صامه تطوعا وأوجب صومه على رمضان أحمد وجماعة بشرط أن يكون هناك غيم والله أعلم. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says here, this hadith explicitly prohibits bringing a day or two before the month of Ramadan. That's not from Ramadan. That's not what? That's not actually from the month. It explicitly prohibits this. Explicitly prohibits this. And before we move forward, for further detail, we've explained this hadith and others in our explanation of Kitab al-Siyam from Bulugh al-Maram. If you want to go back to that and connect the dots and take it from a different sharh and get more juice. Khairan inshallah. Also, on a lecture that we did in Long Island a few years back with regards to the virtue of fasting in the month of Sha'ban. The excellence of fasting in the month of Sha'ban. We explained this issue in detail as well. طيب, Nawawi rahimahullah, he says here, This hadith is tasrih, is clear, right to the point, is that it's prohibited to begin the month of Ramadan with 1 or 2 days. لمن لم يصادف عادة له أو يصله بما قبله, with exceptions to one upon whom the first 2 days or the first day before Ramadan or the day before Ramadan, it coincides with his ada, his normal custom. I normally fast on Thursdays. I normally fast on Wednesdays. I normally fast every other day. Or yasilhu bima qablahu, for those who are making that which is called al-wisal, in which you fast days consecutively without eating in between. Without eating in between. That's a different issue. We've explained that as well there in the Kitab al-Siyam from Bulugh al-Maram. Is it permissible to make a continuous fast? Can you fast 2-3 days straight? Or is that haram? Do you have to eat suhoor? You have to have iftar? Or is it permissible for a Muslim to make 2 days or 3 days what? Continual fasting. No food, no drink, nothing. Alright? So, if a person fasts a day or two before the month of Ramadan because of the day that it fell upon, or he was making a connecting fast, then what? It's not included in the prohibition. It's not what? It's not included in it being haram. Clear? Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says here, as far as if it isn't one of these two instances, then it is haram. It is unlawful to, as I mentioned, insulate or to pad. I'm just going to what? Just do it just because. Out of haste from the month of Ramadan, I'm hasty. Or I want to make precaution. I don't want the day, Yom Shak, the cloudy day. Saudi, Turkey, China, New York, is the moon sighted or not? So I'm just going to what? I'm going to cover it. I can't lose if I give it 2 extra days. Whatever the reason is, before you fasting 1 or 2 days before Ramadan, if it's not under those 2 circumstances, then it is what? Haram. No, he says. He says, and this is the correct view in our madhab. Meaning, the Shafi'i scholars differ. The Shafi'i scholars, they may what? Differ. And the mu'tamad, the correct view of Shafi'i school is that it's what? Haram. Regardless of what the other madhabs say. Everyone understand this? Within a madhab, or what did he say? We have wheels inside what? Inside wheels. Wheels inside wheels. Alright? So in a madhab is a system. It's a school. And like any other human institution or system or school, there are going to be ins and outs. Within the United States of America, there are different races, different cultures, different religions, different ethnicities, different points of views, different dialects, right? Different parts of the earth. They live in the tundra. We live in the desert. We live in the forest lands. We live in the suburbs. We live in the urban, etc., 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 right? There's Democrat, there's Republican, left wing, right wing, and all of them are under the umbrella of what? United States. So one person may say, well, this is the culture here of America. This is what Americans do. And other Americans may say, no way. Some Americans do that, but that's not the what? The sahih of the American way. Regardless whether that is an acceptable cultural practice or not. Everyone understand this? The Muslims in Europe, the Muslims in Egypt, the Muslims in Australia, the non-Muslims in Japan, wherever they are, they may totally look down upon that act. But it doesn't mean that that's not the correct, dependent upon act of the Americans. And the Americans themselves, yakhtalifun, they differ. And a person comes along and he says, this American doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm telling you right now, that's not the official what? It's not the official pie of America. He's too young. Everyone understand this? He migrated to the United States. Everyone understand this? He's from the new school. He's this, he's that. He's too bougie. He's too this. That's not the what? That's not the American way. The barbecue grill. Everyone understand this? The meat is not charred enough. Everyone understand this? You don't have the coals, the briskets. It's not the same as a person who just cuts on the gas. It's a difference. Even though some Americans may what? They may do it. Everyone understand this? Everybody, you get the point I'm trying to make? The Guyanese way, right? That's not how. That's too clean. That's not how we make the chicken, right? You got to have the barrel, got to have the smoke, got to have the steam. This is the official what? Guyanese way of making the chicken. That other stuff with this lady trying to look all clean and modern and nice, you say that's what? La, she's not representing the true what? The true culture. Even though a person from another island or another part of South America or the Caribbean may say that's what? Backwards or unhygienic or that's nasty or it's too spicy. That's fine. But the correct Guyanese way is like what? It's like this. Everyone understand the concept of madhabs? Everyone understand this? The correct official narrative. That's the point I'm trying to get to. And this goes to show that the study of a madhab is not always, as everyone tries to make it seem, so easy and simple and pretty. And everything is just clear and laid out. And there's no level of above another level. And studying comparatively or studying the hadiths or not having a madhab is going to confuse you. It's going to mislead you. You'll never be able to get it. And the madhab is just a piece of cake. That's not necessarily what? True. What's important of the talab, your studies, is levels, whatever system it is, and whatever school it is. Do madhabs have things to offer? No doubt. Sometimes studying progressively in a madhab could be easier. It could be. And that's because there are books for every level. There are explanations for every level. There's a breakdown for every level. Whereas the comparative study may not necessarily have all of that structured and laid out. Huh? Khairan inshallah. So Nawawi, he says here, هذا هو الصحيح في مذهبنا. This is the correct view in our madhab. Why? لماذا؟ لهذا الحديث. Because of this hadith. To show you and to prove is that if the hadith is authentic and it's clear in its meaning and there's no other text that goes against it, that should be what? وَجَبَ الْمَصِيرُ إِلَيْهِ. You're supposed to stick to that. As Shafi'i was quoted to have said, إِذَا صَحَ الْحَدِيثُ فَهُوَ مَذْهَبِي. Hadith is authentic, then it's my what? That's my madhab. With the proper understanding that the hadith is authentic, the hadith's meaning is what? Clear. And there's no other authentic text from Quran or Sunnah that is equal to it or stronger. Everybody understand this? Not for people to make confusion and say that hadiths are confusing and the madhab is easy and simple. No. We know that there are conditions. You can't just have a piece of meat and that's it. You season it with some salt and pepper. You cook it. Everyone understand this? There's few things you add to it that you need to enjoy the actual meat. But at the same time, the main course is still what? Let's not confuse that. So, taking the hadith with the proper fiqh. And there's no other text that does what? Then we say what? You have to take that view. Everyone understand this? And that, if you mean that I can take another view against the hadith in this circumstance because I'm Maliki, now we say madhabs here are what? Bid'ah. It's haram now. For the hadith to be there, authentic, clear, its meaning is clear, there's no other contradicting text, and the person says, I won't do this because I'm Maliki. Now we say it's what? It's bid'ah, haram. And if that's not the case, the system of my study, the books that I read, the scholars that I sat with, my level of training and deducement is the Maliki way. You say what? Fadda. Nothing wrong with that. Everybody understand the difference? Confusion. Confusion and confusion. Confusion from the people who claim madhabs. Confusion from the people who claim to follow the Salaf. Confusion. People mixing things up and jumbling things up improperly, unfortunately. Moving forward. He says, هذا هو الصحيح في مذهبنا لهذا الحديث. This is the correct version of our madhab, or the correct way because of this hadith. And this also shows us the different contradictions of the madhabs, because there are countless other issues in which there are authentic hadiths and there are no other conflicting texts, and they don't adopt that view. Or they only say mustahab, recommended, or makruh, etc. And the asl is the what? The zahir. Moving forward. He says, وَلِلْ حَدِيثِ الْآخَرِ. And another proof is another hadith collected in Sunan Abi Dawud and other places as well. إِذَا انْتَصَفَ شَعْبَانُ فَلَا صِيَامَ حَتَّى يَكُونَ رَمَضَانَ. Once the middle of Sha'ban comes, there should be no fasting until Ramadan. Once the middle of Sha'ban comes, there should be what? No fasting until Ramadan. Is that hadith authentic? What do the ulama of hadith say about the hadith? It's a different discussion. Moving forward. He says here, as far as if a person fasted Ramadan because of his tradition, his custom, or connecting 2 days, and it's tatawwu', it's a voluntary sawm, jaza. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's also based off of the same hadith. Moving forward. طيب. Whether it's the day of doubt or not. Yawm al-shak or not. What's the difference here? Abdul Raqib, what will be the difference between whether it's the Yawm al-shak or not? What will be the difference?
Whether
شوف انظر قال وسواء في النهي عندنا لمن لم يصادف عادته ولا وصله يوم الشك وغيره. What's the difference? Excuse me? لا. يوم الشك is what day of Sha'ban? It's the 30th what? Day after a what? Cloudy evening, like we explained. It's the 30th day of Sha'ban after a what? A cloudy evening, clear. So the 30th day is considered this Yom Shek. It could be the first of Ramadan, or it could be the 30th of Sha'ban. So the person who's fasting 1 or 2 days before Ramadan, it could be before the actual what? Yom Shek. Or it could be no mushkila, as long as it's one of those two things. Clearness according to Nawawi. Everybody understand this? So he could be fasting mathalan the 29th day of Sha'ban. And the next day could be the what? Ramadan, Yom Shek, or it could just be the night was clear, skies were clear, but it's still technically 1 or 2 before Ramadan. Well, moving forward. He says, وَفِيهِ مَذَاهِبُ لِلسَّلَفِ فِي مَنْ صَامُهُ تَطَوُّعًا. And there are many different views of the Salaf regarding those who fast this day tatawwu'an, out of voluntary fast. I'm not saying it's obligatory. I'm not saying it's Ramadan. I'm not saying it's precaution. I'm just doing it what? Voluntary day. Madhahib. The Salaf, they differ on this. We also benefit from this book that Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala is quoting from the Salaf al-Salih. And quoting from this Salaf, reading their statements, understanding the text and how they understood the text and practicing is not a bid'ah and is not made up. And it's not Ibn Abdul Wahhab's invention or Ibn Taymiyyah's invention. It's extremely important to mention this. Especially people who claim, they say, well, I'm Ash'ari, I'm Maturidi, I'm Maliki, and I'm Shafi'i. And the calling to the way of the Salaf, promoting it, that's all what? That's a new thing. That's promoted by Saudis, oil money. No, we understand this? That's Imamukum. You're Imam of the Shafi'i method. What would the Shafi'i method be without Nawawi? And he's quoting from the what? The Salaf al-Salih. So that is, anyone who speaks like that, of any school, whatever that person is saying and professing, to degrade them, or that concept of quoting from them and understanding how they understood it, etc., is already exposed to his ignorance, and that he is not a scholar. Agree with it or not, calling yourself this or not, different story. But the concept of it's a new thing, the word, the concept, the usage, going back to the old scholars, it's a new thing. He's exposed what? He's already shown us that he's what? He has no skills. He's not a scholar. No scholars want to talk outside of his neck like that recklessly. Are you understand this? Does that mean you call yourself Salafi? Is the madhahib of the Salaf the same as Salafiyah? Dawah to Salafiyah? This group, this scholar, this country, that's all what? Different issue. Does everyone who say or who claims, I'm Salafi, I follow the Salaf, he's not Salafi, you're not upon Salafiyah? Does that mean that that's the correct way? No. But the concept of the Salaf al-Salih in the early generations of the Muslims and going back to what they say is not a new thing. It's not a bid'ah. It did not come from Saudi Arabia. It didn't come from Ibn Taymiyyah. It didn't come from Imam Ahmed. It didn't come from Albani or Bin Baz or Uthaymeen. Everyone understand this? And it's extremely important for us to be scholastic and to keep our noses in the books. And the more you keep your noses in the book or the books, the further you'll be from confusion and the further you'll be from just taking a statement or opinion of somebody who says no, yes, yes, and what? No. Let alone one scholar, one day he says yes, and the next day he says no. One ruler, one country, one government, it's a cardinal sin, and the next day they do it. Or they did it, and then the next day, so what? A cardinal sin. When you keep your noses in the books, you can minimize this. It may still happen, but you can what? You can minimize it from being a victim of human beings changing and having feelings and opinions. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he then says here, وأوجب صومه عن رمضان أحمد وجماعة إلى آخره. With regards to Imam Ahmed, وأوجب صومه عن رمضان, it being obligatory to fast for Ramadan, according to Ahmed and those other issues, there are masail, yani, there are further issues pertaining to those what? Pertaining to those hadiths. طيب. What do we learn from this hadith as well? We take from this hadith is that from the sunnah, min as-sunnati at-tark. From the sunnah is to leave things alone. And the sunnah is not just to do and to practice, and that's it. Fast, pray, give zakat, make hajj, and that's it. But it's also from the sunnah to do what? Stop doing a thing. And you obeying, you refraining, you pumping and pressing and slamming on your brakes is also from the sunnah. Everybody understand this? Being a skilled driver is not just the ignition and the pedal that you press. Would you agree with that? Alhamdulillah, that's a good thing to be able to drive fast and to hit the ignition. But a good driver also has to know when and how to what? Brake, slow down, stop. And one skill is just as important as the other. So many people, they think that the sunnah is just to do it. What's the problem? Make dua, wipe your face, fast the extra day. Because it's all what? It's khair, it's good. Yani, what's the harm in it? Is Allah going to punish me for making dua after the salat? Someone may say this to you, right? Is it haram to pray to Allah, brother? Is it haram to make dua to Allah? You say, no, it's not. And I'm not claiming that. And I never claimed that. But it's haram for you to transgress the boundaries of Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, Abduhu wa Rasuluhu. The boundaries. Everyone understand this? Allah is not going to punish you for worshiping Him. But you can be punished by transgressing Allah's boundaries. And Allah is the legislator. Allah makes the rules. And where would Islam be if it was up to us? I feel like making Jummah on Wednesday. And Friday. You say on Saturday. You may say Yom Sept, a'udhu billah. Some brothers may have a Sabbath. Who knows? Yom al-Ahad, a'udhu billah. I don't understand this. Why not? It's extra what? Who doesn't need an extra Jummah? That's an additional 7 days of sins being forgiven. Why not? Is it a haram, brother, to pray to Allah? Is it haram to invoke Allah? Is it haram to have another? The religion would be chaotic if it was left to Amr and Zayd to just specify and generalize and specify when they want to. So these are all from the rights of Allah Azza wa Jal. He is the one who rules and judges. La mu'aqiba li hukmihi. No one comes and objects Allah's ruling. Everybody clear on this? So the Prophet, he says, La yataqaddamanna ahadukum. No one is to begin to start. So from Ramadan is fasting. From the Sunnah is fasting. And from the Sunnah is to refrain from fasting. Unless, and this next point from this hadith, it shows us detail. Detail in the Sunnah. And to give details and to mention the necessary details is from the Sunnah as well. And every ruling isn't always black and white. Sometimes there's a third shade. And sometimes there is no shade. It is what it is. Halal or haram. Everybody clear on this? Right, moving forward. Next chapter, it says, Babun, أو باب الشهر يكون 29. حديث أم سلمة رضي الله عنها أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حلف لا يدخل على بعض أهله شهرا فلما مضى 29 يوما غدا عليهن أو راح فقيل له يا نبي الله حلفت أن لا تدخل عليهن شهرا قال إن الشهر يكون 29. Chapter 4 says the month may be of 29 days. The month may be of 29 days. As we've explained before, the lunar calendar, the month can be 30 days or 29 days. So the month does not have to be 30, full or less. We don't have to fast 30 days of Ramadan. We do not have to what? Fast 30 days of Ramadan. But we could sometimes fast 29 days. So a month is not incomplete if it's 29. It's not incomplete. 28, different story. A month could be tamam, could be tam, yani complete with only what? Only 29. That's the wisdom of this chapter heading. Hadith 658 was narrated by Salama radiallahu anha. The Prophet ﷺ took an oath that he would not enter upon some of his wives for 1 month. But when 29 days had lapsed, he went to them in the morning or evening. It was said to him, O Allah's Prophet, you had taken an oath that you would not enter upon them for 1 month. He replied, the month can be of 29 days. The Messenger of Allah said, ala min nisa'ihi shahran. He did that which was called al-ila, which we explained in the Durur Bahiyya. And it also goes to show you how everything is intertwined. The classes, fiqh, hadith, sharh, it's all connected. We explained what al-ila was. He swore by Allah that he would not visit any of his wives for a month. Right? He wouldn't enter their homes. Obviously, a husband entering his home with his wife. Okay? But when 29 days went by, he entered upon them. O Messenger of Allah, did you break your word? Did you forget? Is there an exception to you? Did Allah send down a verse? He says, no. Ash-shahru yakunu, the month can also be 29 days. Everybody understand this? So this hadith here doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what? But you see how it what? One thing. Everybody understand? هذا هو. فهمتم? You got this? طيب. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says here about this hadith. قال رحمه الله تعالى طيب he doesn't معناه كله بعد 8 طيب يدل عليه نعم خيرا. He doesn't make a long extensive discussion of this hadith. طيب. What's important is that's the main lesson from the hadith, is that a month could be 29 days. And the hadith also shows us and proves that the Prophet ﷺ was a human being. He became angry, he became happy. He was a man just like what? The other people were men. And this hadith also proves is that in al-Islam and the Sunnah is to have more than one wife. And that those wives should have their own houses. And what's meant by the word house or bait is subjective and relative, depending on the time and the place which you live. Your culture or custom or income or lifestyle may include bait, a separate building. House, not an apartment, not a room, a house. A total different household. Basement, attic, yard, lawn, etc. Everyone understand? It's backyard. Clear? Living room, bathroom, mustaqil. You maybe live in a place or a time or a culture or a race or an income, whatever the case may be, in which the word bait, buyutihinna, their houses, their baits, could be a separate apartment in a different building. A separate apartment. Or it could be a separate apartment unit in one building. You take the elevator up the steps, right? Your wife, she texts you. What's taking you so long? Right? The elevator only takes what? 30 seconds. Dang, 30 seconds, huh? Give a brother a break, yahi. At least 2 minutes. She's on the 9th floor and you leave the 6th floor, right? 5 minutes. Fair enough? Get yourself together, right? Tie your shoes, whatever you got to do, huh? Clear or not? In the same what? Building. The same building. So I'm on the 6th floor, Sheikh Khan, and the other wife is on the what? The 9th floor. Or apartments, like we said, in the same building, outside the same building, or one household that's divided into 3 units. Now all you got to do is just walk up the steps, yahi. No more elevators. You can't blame it on the what? The elevator malfunction, honey, I'm coming. You know, the elevator broke down, I'm stuck. You still over the other wife's house, lying to the other one. Everyone understand this? Tayyib. So it could be 3 units within one house. 3 floors, every floor is a Baytun. Hada Baytun. Naam, everyone understand this? Or you may be in a time or a place or culture in which there's one house that's what? Section off. Or it could be a curtain. And that could be a what? A Baytun. A menzil. Everyone understand this? Everybody clear on this? So now what's important is that the wife deserves her own bait. If she says, well, I'll stay with the other one. We can all live in one house. No problem. We don't even have our own separate rooms. This is the master bedroom. You're there. We're outside in another room. No problem. No mushkila. Think about this now. This is all jokes aside. No laughing. It's serious. It says, say 3 sisters, they say, or 4 or 2, they say, we live in one household as a family. There are 3 different rooms. We have children here. Master bedroom. Whoever's night with the husband is in that bedroom. And I sleep in the other room. Same kitchen. Same bathroom. Same living room. Everybody gets along. But if the sister doesn't want to live that way, and she's not pleased with that, and she says, I need my own space, I need my own privacy, right? I need my own, etc. Then what? What are you going to do? Then you say what? Then it's the haq upon the husband to do what? Nah, not talaq, ya akhi. To give her own what? Baytun. I would understand. Everybody clear on this or not? You sure you got it? So it depends on the what? The situation, and also on the income. But let's say the woman was okay with it. That's not the same as a woman not being okay with it. And many brothers, they do this. They're forced their wives to live in one room, one house, and the wife is not okay with it. Everybody clear on this? Tayyib, khairan, inshallah. Of course, there are wisdoms in that. This is not the topic of our discussion tonight. All right? Allah surely knows best. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.